you're watching the Newshour Agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. On this day last week, a young Hindu man was assaulted by 6 men in Nizamabad in Telangana. This happened because he was riding with one of his Muslim female colleagues. Incidentally, he was taking her to a government hospital to get a document from there with her full consent and in fact also with the consent of her family. Both of them were colleagues and work at an IT firm. What happened next was nothing short of a nightmare. He was kidnapped, confined, beaten and then beaten again. Throughout, he says, he was told that he has no business riding pillion, or rather making a Muslim woman ride pillion with him. What's even more shocking is that over the last 7 days there has been an attempt to try and pass it off as a random crime. Any idea that this was communally motivated has been shrugged off. Today, Times Now has actually got the victim on record where he lays to rest any doubt whatsoever about why he was attacked, why he was beaten. The bigger question though, after you hear this man, will be, why is it that those who rush to pay condolences, to lend a shoulder to any victim of a hate crime have got absolutely no time? They can't give the time of day to this young man in Telangana.
चार आदमी मेरे को पकड़ के तुम मुस्लिम लड़की को कहीं तू लेके आया बोल के मेरे को मारा, बहुत मारा था और वो मस्जिद में लेके गए, वहाँ पर भी मारा था मेरे को। बाद में प्रशासन आके मेरे को स्टेशन के लेके गए, वहाँ पर कंप्लेंट भी दिया, तो प्राक्टिस भी चल रहा है अभी। उन्होंने मेरे को तुम्हारा कौन सा आदमी है तुम्हारा बोल के मेरे को बोला, मैं बोला उसको मैं एसटी है, मैं हिंदू बोल के बोले थे। एसटी है तो क्या हुआ, कौन सा होता क्या हुआ, हिंदू हमारा मुस्लिम लड़की को लेके जा रहा था, कैसा लेके जा रहा बोल के मेरे को बहुत मारा उन्हें।
निजामाबाद जिला में जानकमपेट गांव में एक दरगाह के पास मुसलमान बच्ची को साथ में हॉस्पिटल जा रहे थे। ये दोनों भी त्रिपुल में जॉब करते, स्टाफ नर्स का काम करता है, उसका कोलीग उसके साथ जॉब करता है, एक मुसलमान बच्ची। दोनों मिलके हॉस्पिटल के काम पे निजामाबाद जा रहे थे, त्रिपुल से निजामाबाद जा रहे थे। ये जानकमपेट दरगाह के पास एक 6-7 जनों रुके, मुसलमान के बच्चे रुके, तुम हमारा मुसलमान बच्ची को कहीं को लेके जा रहा, क्या काम है बोल के पूछे। हमारा बच्चा बोला हम ड्यूटी पे जा रहे बोल के। क्या ड्यूटी रे, हमारा मुसलमान बच्चे को साथ में घूमता बोल के पकड़ के कुत्ते का सर का ऐसा मारे, उसको मार के मस्जिद में लेके जाके पूछे था, और एक बार हमारा मुसलमान के बच्चा हाथ घूमे तो तुम्हारा हाथ पाँव तोड़ देते बोल के, मार देते बोल के डराए।
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
So the question is very simple. Was an effort to try and whitewash a crime that was blatantly Hinduphobic and communal. Joining us on the debate, we have Tuhin Sinha, spokesperson of the BJP, Khaliqur Rahman, leader of the TRS, Shoaib Jamai, president of the Indian Muslim Foundation, Mohammad Asif Sohail, political analyst and social activist. Khaliqur Rahman, how can you deny it when the victim is on record now?
As I've been researching, and it's not just the first debate, but I think for the last 3 days, you have been running this story, and it is very unfortunate that the communal color is, being given to this, because I personally feel that a crime is a crime. So that is the reason let us not try to, add the communal color to this. But it is very unfortunate that whether it is Hindu or Muslim, whoever is attacked, we have to condemn the attack. And immediately after the attack, the moment it came to the notice of the police swung into action. Police
at the very beginning, you tried to pass it off as some random crime.
No, it definitely is not a random crime. But at the same time, the gentleman was going on a mobile with his colleague, and there were people who stopped him and then attacked him. And, then after that, the moment, the police came to know about this, police swung into action and arrested. But it is very unfortunate that because, the gentleman who was, riding the bike, hailed from one community, and the people who attacked him hailed from the other community. So because of that, the communal angle is being brought in. But here, it is very unfortunate. So that's the reason.
But the communalization. Okay. Tuhin Sinha, has the crime been communal, or was it a crime that was communalized? Mr. Rahman says it's the latter. Crime just happened, then you communalized it.
Absolutely.
I have no words to condemn the horrific incident which has taken place in Telangana, and unfortunately it just shows that no, please, you've had your word. So I have no words to condemn this horrific incident, and it just shows that in India also there is a small segment of Taliban-minded people who can't come to terms with the fact that a man and woman can be friends in this day and age. And of course, the fact that there is selectivity, obnoxious selectivity among political parties, especially the Congress and other political parties, the pseudo-liberal and pseudo-secular political parties, in condemning these incidents, especially when the victim is from the majority community. Let's face it, that is a fact. Now, I can tell you at least 20 names from the majority community who have been victims of hate crimes, who have been lynched to death in the last 4 or 5 years, whether it was Ankit Sharma in Delhi, whether it was Kamlesh Tiwari, whether it was the sadhus in Palghar, whether it was Dr. Pankaj Narang in Delhi. But unfortunately, none of these incidents were condemned by mainstream political parties, the pseudo-liberal and the pseudo-secular parties, because that was against their politics. And this is where the main problem lies. And in fact, even today, in the last 3 of this incident has not been condemned by anybody. But had the victim been from a majority community, all of these people, including the likes of Shashi Tharoor, who always likes to liken India to Lynchistan or use those words to demean India whenever an incident like this happens, it is very sad, shocking, and shameful that such people are absolutely silent today.
Mr. Shoaib Jamai, why?
Yes. Padmaja, absolutely nobody can justify the abduction and taking the law into your own hands, because we are not living in a lawless land. But definitely these kind of things happening in the society, you can see as a repercussion of what's going on in Uttar Pradesh in the name of love jihad. You see the Bajrang Dal and BHP men are involved in lynching and the abducting of the Muslim girls. In Kushinagar, we have reported FIR cases there also. And in the name of love jihad, one gentleman is saying just now that Talibani minded does not understand there will be the friendship between men and women who are adults. So you should give this lecture to your saffron brigade that in the Uttar Pradesh, in the Madhya Pradesh. Why didn't you give lecture to them when they scolded, when they beaten the Muslim men, when they were befriended with the Hindu women or Hindu girls who are adults? So these are the double standard of the BJP, and it's definitely exposed right now. But the thing is that, there are other factors which are involved here. We have seen in the social media.
There is no question, Mr. Jamai. Your condemnation is also selective.
Yes, I will quote in the Nursing Anand that
not at all. For us, a crime is a crime is a crime.
Paul Moffat about the BJP women workers. His disciples have said openly in the open call in the online platform.
Dhruv Tyagi was murdered. Why? Because he went to a certain locality to complain about his daughter being harassed, and he was murdered by the other community. So where were these people? These people have a pathological problem towards the community. They will never condemn the fact. They will never condemn incidents.
So these are the various factors.
Mr. Shoaib Jamai, I want to get just one thing clear. Do you think of a crime as a crime, or do you
in Uttar Pradesh and there will be the repercussion will be happening in other parts of the India. You don't take it as it easily as you see.
We will come to that. We will come to that about repercussions in any part of the India in just a second. But I want to ask you very simply. At the very outset, everyone has a principle they live by. Is your principle that every crime should be treated as just that, a crime? Or will you decide which crime is communal based on the community the victim belongs to? If the victim is a Muslim, it's a communal crime. If the victim is a Hindu, then it's just a crime. What is your principle?
I understand your question. I don't shy away from the reality. I understand that these are not the simple cases. I cannot claim this as a non-communal. Yes, there was some communal angle involved with that. When these Muslim men have seen that the Hindu men were befriending with the Muslim men, or there were some kind of rumors going on in the society, definitely these kind of factors need to be considered. But the thing is that it's going from the other side. And the other side,
so you are agreeing that this was great. So you are agreeing,
so I will see as a
which is terrible. Which is terrible. When any community or any person attacks the other, they deserve to be in jail. There is no doubt about it. Who is saying if somebody beats up a Muslim man in Kanpur, they deserve to be in jail, as they are. If somebody beats up a Muslim man in Loni, they deserve to be in jail, as they are. But the point is very simple. When the previous two incidents happen, Mr. Shoaib Jamai, there is a great amount of angst about how India has absolutely gone to the dogs. Now my question to you is, by your logic, because you're saying this was a communal crime, by your logic, would you say that Telangana has gone to the dogs and is Hinduphobic? I don't agree with it, but I am just using your logic, the extra kind of extrapolation that is done by you. Is Telangana Hinduphobic?
The thing is that you can't be a double standard. I'm not that double standard in this way. I clearly say that yes, there is a communal angle. If there is some terms has been coined as a Muslim phobic, yes, there are some kind of mindset called the Hinduphobic also. But there are various factors need to be considered why they become Hinduphobic. Because this Hindutva brigade, you know, on the 20th anniversary of this 9/11, the world, of most 50 universities of the world have conducted a conference on dismantling the Hindutva terrorism. So world is not discovering what we have discovered for these 4 years, because world is recognizing what's the threat of the Hindutva terrorism in the name of Saffron Brigade or in the name of the cultural aspirants or the...
So essentially you are saying, just a second, so you are basically saying, this is very interesting. It is being said that these poor men became Hinduphobic because of the threat of Hinduism. So their violence was driven by a threat of violence.
Recognizing the terror, the fear and the problems of the Hindutva.
Padmaja, I don't blame people like
Shoaib. This is the most convoluted logic ever.
People like Rahul Gandhi. Let me, मेरी बात सुनिए. देखिए, मैं शोएब जैसे लोग को ब्लेम नहीं करता हूं. राहुल गांधी जैसे लोग जब 2006 से 2008 में सबसे बुरे टेरर अटैक्स इंडिया में होते थे, तब वो फॉरेन एम्बेसी में जाके कहते थे कि अगर इस देश को सबसे बड़ा खतरा है तो वो हिंदू एक्सट्रीमिज्म है. तो शोएब जैसे लोग तो छोटे मोटे मतलब वो तो फॉलो करेंगे. जो इस तरह के नेता, जब राहुल गांधी और कांग्रेस के अन्य नेता जब बात करेंगे, जब वो 26/11 आरएसएस की साजिश इस प्रकार की किताब निकाल कर पाकिस्तान को जो एक फ्री हैंड देंगे. सो आई डोंट ब्लेम देम. इट्स अ मेंटालिटी ऑफ supposedly mainstream political parties like Congress, Samajwadi Party by the way was the first to embrace Taliban. The 91-year-old MP was called it a freedom from slavery when Taliban took over Afghanistan. So these supposedly mainstream political parties are in reality closet Islamist parties, and that is where Hinduphobia emanates. Look at a small example. Rahul Gandhi, when he tweeted about
Khaliqur Rahman, closet Islamist parties. What was seen in North India, as Tuhin Sinha is alleging, in the mindset of parties like Samajwadi Party, is being exhibited by you now. And it trickles down. It trickles down to the population.
No, it is very unfortunate to say that the mindset of the North is, coming down to the South. But as far as Telangana is concerned, Telangana, in fact, is a very peace-loving state. The people of Telangana, in fact, of all the communities, live in absolute communal harmony. So, and why can't we, see a human as a human being, human as an Indian? I mean, why do we jump into, take away the religion identity of a person? if my
why?
from the
I will tell you why. Let me read out to you again what Ravi told us. Sir, it is very well to say that we must be human and talk like humans. Let me read to you what this victim says. 4 men approached me and asked me why I am with a Muslim girl. They beat me up. They shifted me to a different location, beat me up again. Later, administration rescued me. I filed a complaint. They asked for my identity. I told them I'm from a scheduled tribe. They said it doesn't matter if you belong to scheduled tribe. If you are a Hindu, how can you go with a Muslim woman? Of course, that happens in every case, sir. Mr. Khaliqur Rahman, that happens in every case. Name me a case, name me a horrible case where anyone who's a Muslim is beaten and the perpetrators are not arrested. Every case the perpetrator is arrested, right? But the issue is never about whether the perpetrator is arrested or not. The issue always is that the country has gone to the dogs, and this is about the country's mindset. All I'm trying to ask you is,
we have to write about this Hinduism, or we have to write about this Muslimism, or we have to, somebody on the debate said, the India is having the Taliban mindset. I face a very strong objection to that, actually, because it is very wrong to say that, actually. Because how can you compare?
No, he's not saying India has a Taliban mindset. He is saying people who behave like this have a Taliban mindset. Sir, please, India will never have a Taliban mindset. Please, there is no comparison.
A small segment of radicalized Muslim youth have that mindset. This is what I had said. Please don't spread this falsehood on
examples here on, the national media, because what message we are going to send to the people of the country, to the nation. So let us all, see, when we come, for a debate, why can't we all, talk in one language, rather than, we are showing the division here, and don't you, expect the people, on the field.
Why can't we talk in one language? That's a great idea. Kamar Zaman Chaudhary, answer this. You've got somebody from the Telangana Rashtra Samiti saying today that we should never look at a crime through the prism of a community or, a caste, etc. Which is funny and actually quite sad, because every single crime that has happened in the last 6 years, the first identification is दलित की बेटी भी बेटी है, मुस्लिम की बेटी भी बेटी है. हाथरस में दलित की बेटी के साथ ऐसा क्यों हुआ? Now answer Khaliqur Rahman. Don't answer the BJP. Ask Khaliqur Rahman, who's asking you, why can't you talk about humanity? Why do you always look at everything for your politics through caste, religion, vote bank? Kamar Zaman Chaudhary.
Yeah,
and if this is so important to you, why aren't you also talking today, Kamar Zaman Chaudhary, saying that Hindu का बेटा भी बेटा है, उसको पिटना नहीं चाहिए था? बोलिए, आप तेलंगाना के लिए बोलिए, जो निजामाबाद में हुआ, हिंदू का बेटा भी बेटा है.
Very sorry for that. But then what I heard from the last few minutes that I was listening to, my dear friend from TRS, he seems to be like an ostrich burying his head in the sand. He doesn't understand that just 5 days ago, a Muslim 20-year-old Samir was brutally killed by picking him up and throwing him on his head. The same thing happened in Telangana. We all can say that a crime is a crime. But then we must understand that Semitism movement that was supported by Govalkar in the middle, in the Europe, is the only solution for Muslims in India. Who said that? It was Govalkar. We do not oppose Hinduism. We respect each and every, the pluralistic nature of our Indian society is here from millions of years ago. It's not that a BJP comes to power.
Mr. Chaudhary, where is the pluralism? Where is the pluralism as witnessed in Nizamabad? Simple question. Where is your pluralism in Nizamabad?
Madam,
what is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander.
There is Islamophobia in this country. There is Dalit phobia. There is backward classes phobia. There is an economic phobia out here. That needs to be discussed. We sympathize with any crime victim that is
just a second. So you're saying, just a second. So you're saying there is Hinduphobia also and there is Islamophobia also.
No, I never said Hinduphobia. I said Hindutva phobia. Madam,
there is no Hinduphobia. There is phobia of everyone except Hindus. Then can you please tell me?
that is despised and will be continued to be despised.
Sir, this is not about Savarkar. Please do not go back to Savarkar. That is a much more nuanced, educated debate. Can I please ask you very simply? Going by the very simple and frankly very political binaries that are drawn by our political parties, if for the unfortunate death of a little girl in Delhi, you say Dalit ki beti bhi beti hai. For the beating of a Hindu boy in Telangana, why don't you say Hindu ka beta bhi beta hai? Period. That's my question. Simple, apples to apples comparison I'm making. Go on, Mr. Chaudhary, answer that. Dalit ki beti bhi beti hai, Hindu ka beta bhi beta hai. Yes.
So why don't you discuss Ikhlaq? Why don't you discuss Tabriz Ansari and countless others? Even in June 2020, a 25-year-old man was stabbed to death by his relatives, which was projected as a Hindu-Muslim crime.
Of course, we discuss all of that. Why are you doing what about it? I am asking you a straight question.
No,
I don't want to get into what about it. Let me say, since I asked you about principle in the beginning, my principle is simple, sir. A crime is a crime and we should never identify it by religion, caste, creed. It's simple. A crime is a crime. Those people belong behind bars. My problem is that why is it when a crime happens in Delhi with a little girl, it is about Dalit ki beti. But when it happens to Ravi, it is not about Hindu ka beta. Why do you make that distinction, sir? That's my simple question. Because that exposes how you cherry pick your causes and you cherry pick your concern and you cherry pick your outrage.
You are cherry picking.
Why do you cherry pick?
The ideas out here. I said a crime is a crime, no doubt about it. However heinous the crime or a light crime, it's always a crime, has to be punished as per IPC. But when a crime is given by a hate-filled ideology, that needs to be called out and despised. I cited an example of a 25-year-old who was killed because of some property disputes in last year, and it was projected as a Hindu-Muslim divide. No, this is not the cases that are all the cases you cannot put up on the same pedestal and say, okay, Dalit ka beti and this beti and that beta.
Okay.
A crime has got its own definition.
So you cannot make the comparison to Hinsinha because what happens in Hathras or what happens in Loni or what happens in a crematorium in Delhi is not a standalone crime. It is a carryover of an ideology, says Mr. Kamal Zaman Chaudhary. According to him, it is the ideology of Golwalkar. But what happens in Nizamabad, that's a stray crime. Sir, I am quoting you only. I quoted you verbatim. Okay, Hindus are spreading hate because Hindus all are inspired by Golwalkar to Hinsinha. So that follows to a pattern, says Kamar Zaman Chaudhary.
I think it's a
yes,
little,
to Hinsinha.
It's a little rich on these people to talk about Golwalkar, so let that discussion be for another day. I can just tell you, if you remember Delhi riots, a head constable Ratan Lal and an IB sleuth, please don't talk in between, and an IB sleuth Ankit Sharma were hunted down and brutally murdered with unimaginable monstrosity simply because they were Hindus. In the last 3 months, Bengal has witnessed at least 50 rapes of Hindu women. Forget the fact that they were BJP supporters. The fact that in a very large number of these cases, the perpetrator of the crime belonged to the other community. So why are these things never condemned? Because the victim over here belongs to the majority community. And like I said, I mean, these people are small fries. The problem starts with the pseudo-liberal, pseudo-secular and now closet Islamist political parties of India, which includes the TMC, which includes Samajwadi Party, and which includes the Congress Party. Let's be very blunt and let's be very forthright about it.
Okay, Muhammad Asif Sohail. That these parties are basically just cloaking their... Just a second, just Mr. Chaudhary, Asif Sohail has been waiting very patiently and so has Mr. Sriraj Nair. So let me quickly get to Mr. Asif Sohail. Yes, Mr. Asif Sohail. You can hide behind all the different excuses, but basically you have decided that one community is to be reviled and the other community has to be protected.
Okay. Who is the response of the religion-based crime? It's a reflection of the statements, Bahulao, Beti Bachao,
100 Muslim women Rivers of Love Jihad. Who has given this statement? BHP, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, Hindu Vani, Bajrang Dal. They are the main. I give this credit to them. This kind of crimes are happening because of them. Other people are following them because it's one community has been targeted. The other community, the crime what happened in Nizamabad, I strongly condemn. It shouldn't happen. The police has to take the role. And who has violated the right to privacy? Article 21. It's a BJP, VHS, Bajrang Dal. They have done that earlier. And there are a lot of cases, the BJP, Bajrang Dal and Vishwa Hindu Parishad are training the boys to, destroy the Muslim women. I have mentioned it in the last debate also. It's been planned program. That's the reason that these boys have thought in that scenario and it was a road rage and this thing happened. But it shouldn't happen. The Hyderabadis will not allow the Hyderabad police and the DGP.
So all the reasonings that have been given, Sriraj Nair, now we have come to a different reason where Mohammad Asif Sohail says that because Bajrang Dal has unleashed this whole, Love Jihad squad, Romeo squad, now the other side is also defensive. Now even Muslims are saying, well, we will also not let Muslim girls.
How you stop this? Bahulao, Beti Bachao, Yogi Adityanath said, marry 100 Muslim women.
Shut up. Let
Sriraj Nair answer. You are accusing the VHP and Bajrang Dal. Let the VHP answer you.
Madam Padmaja, first of all, the biggest problem in this nation that the nation is facing is selective activism. Now we know this gentleman and the lady, so the Muslim lady, they both were colleagues, and it was with the consent of the brother of the lady, he was going for some work. And now this is become a habit. Every time, they howl, they cry of lynching. It is the Hindus who are the victims. But the problem is,
Mr. Sohail, why are you heckling other people? You came with your theory. Nobody heckled you. Please, can we please have Mr. Sohail silent for 30 seconds? Let Sriraj Nair answer him.
When he was speaking,
if you say Sriraj Nair has unleashed gundas, then let Sriraj Nair defend him. Yes, go on, Sriraj Nair.
See, because these people are the people who do selective activism. Now, I saw your tweet, Madam Padmaja, about Mumbai. Continuously, if you see 100 victims of lynching, it is only 30 odd who are Muslims. 70 Hindus have been, if 100 lynchings have happened, it is 70 Hindus who have been lynched. Every time Hindus have been victim, and these people have been victim crying wrongly. And there is a huge bunch and a gang of selective activists who's come in support of this kind of miscreants. Now here, the lady and the gentleman who were traveling together, it was with the consent of the brother of the lady, and they both are colleagues working for IIT. How can these people take law in the hand and heckle this gentleman? And now there is it's pin drop silence across the nation. No activists, nobody coming on TV, and nobody speaking about them. Similarly, in Mumbai rape case, Nirbhaya, no, because when they know who was the perpetrator, who was accused, not a single person tweeted, no hue and cry, no placards. This is the biggest problem the nation is facing, and Hindus are just...
Shoaib Jamai, Sriraj Nair.
To start the candle marches, we will also...
Sriraj Nair,
to oppose such types of heinous crimes.
You shut up. Let me complete. When Hindus are victims,
Kamar Zaman Chaudhary wants you to start a candle march.
You don't hold placards. No Bollywood gang comes.
You want to create an atmosphere of fear among the minority communities, among the Dalit communities, and bring in your hegemony.
Statement with the old rhetoric.
Okay. Sir, this is a facetious statement. Sir, this is a facetious statement. Just a second, Mr. Chaudhary, because you represent the Congress, let me say this very simply. When you are selective in your recognition and your condemnation to say, अरे आप कर लो, हमने नहीं किया तो आप कर लो, हाँ बाकी लोग तो करेंगे, पर आपसे ये सवाल पूछा जाएगा कि आपको सिर्फ कुछ ही लोगों के लिए दुख क्यों होता है? ये and which is to say कि ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको victims के लिए दुख नहीं होना चाहिए. Yes.
This is selective activism.
Is he going to visit Sakinaka? Is he going to visit Nizamabad?
Yes.
Is he going to visit this boy in Nizamabad?
Then
Shoaib Jamai. The larger point being made is Shoaib Jamai answering Sriraj Nair that this selective activism actually isn't activism at all. It is pure politics. जिसको टीवी में कहते हैं कि आपकी टारगेट ऑडियंस कौन, when you know आपकी टारगेट ऑडियंस ये है कि उसे मैं सिर्फ टारगेट ऑडियंस को खुश करने के लिए काम करूंगा, मेरा दुख, गुस्सा, एंगर, आउटरेज, कंसर्न इज फॉर माय टारगेट ऑडियंस.
Government has to ponder upon this. Why this larger problem is going on in the society? We have to ponder on this. We have to be a part of the solution, not the part of the problem. So why there is every time rhetoric is going on? Because there is severe problem. Both are the victims. Both societies, both communities are going to be the victim of this ultimately. So we have to ponder upon this as an intellectual
I'm very glad.
civil society with the
I'm very glad you're at least acknowledging. Just a second. You're at least acknowledging. I am glad to Hinsenha that at least you've got one person on the panel, because the TRS didn't acknowledge it. You don't have the other two people acknowledging it. He is saying yes.
Living in the reality, I never.
Yeah. So crime happens from all sides.
Kind of debater.
I'm glad. I am glad that at least you agree.
Where he acknowledges the problem. I think. No, sir. No, so I think the credit goes to you. If during the show you brought him to the level where he's finally acknowledging the problem, great. But my point is that, if the same people, the same people who can't condemn Taliban without likening it to the RSS, for them, it's expecting too much from them. It's expecting too much from them to unequivocally condemn a crime, a hate crime where the victim is a Hindu. Let's put it, let's be very forthright about it.
And all these people who came to shine back to fire on us at the Jamia. So you made them hero who have broken all these laws and
nobody made them a hero. On the contrary, the Shaheen Bagh was an Islamist movement.
Are those people heroes for you?
You had no idea about the bill that was passed.
So you should have to acknowledge
Not at all. Not at all.
That's what I believe.
On the contrary, the Shaheen Bagh was an absolutely farcical movement. It was it was a picnic. Nobody over there even knew what they were protesting against. The same way as in most of the farmer protests, the people don't know what they're protesting against. It was a paid campaign.
No any unruly men, unlawless men.
Okay, Tuhin Sinha says that anyone, including the man who opened fire at Shaheen Bagh, is not anyone's hero. Shiraj Nair, if you have a Shoaib Jamai saying that, listen, I recognize the crime irrespective of which community is behind it, would you also do the same? Would you also say that man who comes and opens fire at a Jamia student, he is a criminal and should be treated as such? He is no hero of any religion or cause, Shiraj Nair?
We are a responsible organization believing in the Constitution.
Would you be willing to do that?
The law and order should prevail. No law of the land is supreme. But the problem is the people like Mr. Jamai, like in Hindi we say khane ke aur kuch dikhane ke kuch aur. They just utter but they don't believe. These people are encouraging this kind of activities. They are propagating they are the supporters of Taliban here. Now they have the guts to come to Mumbai? They have been always targeting at victim crimes.
You put it on the pipe for 3-4 years. When you just withdraw the pipe, the tail will be just tailing like this only. This is going on.
For everything,
you can't expect anything different from these men.
And Bajrangal. What has VHP and Bajrangal got with this incident? What has VHP
I was wrong
got with this incident?
Something
good from you.
There are hundreds of incidents which have been done by BJP and Bajrangal.
How can these people take their law in their hands? I am openly telling. We are the
number of Muslim women, Muslim girls throughout the country.
Law of the land is supreme.
You cannot deny that. Lot of incidents are there.
Okay, law of the land is supreme. Law of the land is supreme. That's great. You've got at least 3 reasonable voices so far. You've got Shoaib Jamai, you've got Shiraj Nair, you've got Tuhin Sinha. All three have come to the point, Qamar Zaman Chaudhary. And this is actually because Shoaib Jamai said that we can sit here and do this divisive rhetoric till kingdom come, or we can look for a solution. The solution is very simple. You take the same line as them and say, for me, Hindu ka beta bhi beta hai, Dalit ki beti bhi beti hai. Qamar Zaman Chaudhary. And the next time when there is a crime like what has happened in Telangana, you will say, yes, this is also to be seen as seriously as what happened in Loni. I am not going to see it through a communal prism.
it's a hate crime or whether it is a motivated crime, depending on different issues. I cited one example wherein it was a family dispute.
No, because the very simple question being asked of you is, the very simple question...
Honorable Judge of the High Court says that this...
Sir, the question being asked of you is very simple.
The question has been asked.
This is the level of our systems that we have developed over the last few years. And I'm very sorry to say that we are all part of this ecosystem. We are in the legislature.
We're just having a bit of an issue with your audio connection there. We'll try and fix it. The question is very simple. While we fix that audio, you have a very straight question, Mohammad Asif Sohail, which Sriraj Nair is asking. Mr. Gandhi said that he was upset with what happened in Hathras. He said this was about a crime on a Dalit. He went there. When will he go to Sakinaka?
I second the Rahul Gandhi statement. What all he tweeted is the truth. And see, the crime is crime. It has happened in Hathras or anywhere. But who has initiated this crime? Who are behind this? Who, because of that reflection of the statement made by the BJP, VHS, I have mentioned you. I'll keep on mentioning you. You know, that is the reason this hatred has started. Earlier, there was no hatred among the Indians. Now they have divided the Hindu-Muslim, based on the love jihad, reverse love jihad, bahulao, beti bachao, then marry 100 Muslim. This all, the Muslim youth also carrying that pain in their heart. It's a reflection of that. You need to understand that. Earlier, there are hundreds of crimes that happened.
What is this logic? I am sorry. You know your logic. I mean, sorry to be a little facetious. Sorry to be a little facetious. But Mr. Sohail, just a second. Can I please have silence for 10 seconds? Can I please have silence for 10 seconds? And I'm coming to you, Tuhin Sen, as well. Your logic, Mr. Sohail, is like saying that if I'm walking on a dark road and I suddenly see a group of men, I go and stab them. And I say, you know what? आपके यहाँ खड़े रहने से मुझे बड़ा डर लग रहा था, इसलिए मैंने सोचा मैं छुरी मार दूं. ऐसे नहीं होता ना सर. आप कह रहे हो कि उस लड़के को पीट दिया, क्यों? क्योंकि उनको डर लग रहा था कि वो उनको ना पीट दे. ये क्या बात हुई? बजरंग दल जो है लोगों को पीट रहे हैं, इसलिए उन्होंने पहले उस आदमी को पीट दिया इस डर में कि कहीं वो बजरंग दल का ना हो. ऐसे तो फिर ये तो रेसिपी फॉर केओस है. आपका लॉजिक इतना फैसिशियस है.
अंधेरे में भी मारेंगे, उजेरे में मारेंगे, बगल में छुरी रखकर मारते हैं ये लोग. You know it, the fact. I don't have to explain and give explanation on that. You know the truth. Who are responsible?
What are you saying, Mr. Sohail? You cannot make rhetorical statements based on no fact whatsoever with a very specious logic. Tuhin Sena wanted to respond to you. Tuhin Sena wanted to respond to you.
Everything on record. How the
every time they drag the issue of love jihad. Now let me just come in over here. Every time, very conveniently, when they are on fire, when they have to face the music, they drag the issue of love jihad. But fact is that in 2009, way back in 2009, the existence of love jihad was acknowledged by the Kerala High Court, which had actually asked the then government of Kerala to frame adequate laws to combat it. Love jihad was actually accepted by V. Achyutanandan, a CPM chief minister, way back in 2010. So it is in existence. So please don't create a false equivalence to actually trivialize a crime where the victim is a Hindu. That's my limited point.
Kamar Zaman Chaudhary, since you're back now, will Mr. Gandhi go to Sakinaka? Sriraj Nair is asking you that straight question.
Does Mr. Sinha have any data on the love jihad cases in the country? Do you know how many inter-religious marriages have been approved by your government last year? It was over 2,000 marriages were approved.
So you don't believe the ruling of the Kerala High Court way back in 2009?
Were they on love jihad?
If you want to live in darkness, if you want to live in denial, that is your problem.
Islam. What nonsense you are speaking in this 21st century, sir? Two persons fall in love.
Are you saying the Kerala High Court ruling was nonsense? Is this the kind of respect that you have for the courts of this country? That shows your mindset. The ruling was passed in 2009. You can do your own search. But the fact is, you don't respect the courts.
Sir, we will come back. We will come back with even more data, because now in the state of Kerala, you have not the BJP, not the Bajrang Dal, not the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. Jihad, but you've got the church saying that they have similar complaints. Be that as it may, we will come back on that with a full investigation. You still haven't answered the question. You still haven't answered the question, Mr. Chaudhary, which is being asked of you by Sriraj Nair. And that question is that if you really think a crime is a crime, why is it that nobody from the Congress party's leadership has gone to Sakinaka? Simple question. Answer, Sriraj Nair. When is Mr. Gandhi going to Sakinaka? Go on.
Yes.
So, Padmaja, I can't understand. What is the crime rate in the country right now? What is the crime that is going on every minute in this country? How many rapes are happening every hour in this country? How many people are getting murdered every day in this country?
So
every
you're saying
minute in this country?
some rapes are okay, it's okay. You know, you cannot go. So basically you're saying what the police said in Maharashtra. You said, you know, we cannot be everywhere. We can't empathize with everyone. So we'll pick and choose. We'll pick and choose.
Say that a crime has been committed. A crime has been committed. Let the law take its course. But when we find the law enforcement machinery is in cahoots with the criminals, then we have got a problem. We know how at midnight the victim was given a funeral in the at the time of midnight. We know when the people have been instigated into committing hate crime, not because of the Gandhian ideology, not because of the pluralistic nature of our society, but the this thing of the governor's ideology and the governor's ideology.
So basically, again, Sriraj Nair, essentially in a very roundabout fashion, what Mr. Chaudhary is saying is that look at. Yes, so essentially what he is saying in a roundabout fashion is that there are so many crimes happening in this country that your expectation that the Congress former president will go everywhere is just plain unreasonable. This is not about him being selective, this is just about him not being able to be everywhere at the same time. Sriraj Nair.
See, absolutely wrong. He has been selectively visiting. He is for tragedy too. He has been a man of tragedy tourism, rape tourism. Whenever rapes or similar kind of crimes that has happened in BJP ruled state, he was the first to rush in. Now he knows that his party is an ally in Maharashtra. He does not even have the audacity to even issue a statement. The problem is this kind of although see electorally they have they know where they are, and now they are going to not even achieve double digit in the forthcoming parliament election in 2024. It is only because of this kind of acts and Hindu bashing, regular Hindu bashing, ridiculing Hindus, and even selectively visiting this kind of places. They are going to be finished. Why only in BJP ruled state they visit? Why this tragedy is tourism only in BJP ruled state? Why there is no statement for Rajasthan rapes? Why there is no statement in Punjab for Punjab? Why there is no statement or even visit to Sakinaka, which was one of a heinous crime? It is another Nirbhaya. And you know who are the victims, who are the
what
accused.
Was the Prime Minister doing?
Madam Padmaja, you very well know who are the accused.
The Bihar regiment soldiers who were martyred in Galwan Valley. Don't talk about all those things. What about
Sir, where have you gone?
That Congress president is
Please, for heaven's sake, you.
Madam Padmaja, I request you, if Congress want to send spokesperson, they should have basic common sense, not like their leaders. This is really stupid. You know what kind of he is beating he does not understand the basic question. It is like Mr. Rahul Gandhi answering in front of TV. His spokesperson are also like that only.
Okay. I'm going to leave it at that.
Rahul Gandhi spokesperson and all these things. अरे आप एक बंद कमरा से पहले निकाल के तो देखो.
No. Okay, let's not make this personal. Shoaib Jamai has a final word, because I genuinely, you started by saying, which is a good thing. Okay, Tuin Sana also I'll come back to you for final comments. Because you said let's look for solutions, isn't this the solution that at least on certain sensitive issues, all political parties come to the consensus that we will not try and see it through our vote bank prism. We will ensure and demand accountability and that justice is done without bringing in our vote bank politics. Shoaib Jamai.
Padmaja, I don't want to contradict with my sentences what I have said earlier. I firmly believe that we should be the part of the solution. And we as an intellectual society, with the government, with the agencies, we should sit with all these organizations and have to at least ask them to not to appreciate these kind of heroics who took the law in their hands. We as a Muslim society also should ask these organizations not to appreciate those mischievous criminal persons who took law in their hands. That would be the good for the country. And I don't want to contradict. I always believe that we as a smart citizens, we as a good Samaritans of the Indian society, we should initiate it. And I, Shoaib Jamai, the president of Indian Muslim Foundation and the national spokesperson of Jan Adhikar Party, the activist of the Shaheen Bagh, initiated this concept. I think our friends in the BJP and other parties should follow this.
Yeah, all I want to say at this stage, Padmaja, is that the mischievous selectivism shown by certain political parties in condemning, incidents of crime based upon, whether the victim belongs to a certain community or not, does a huge amount of disservice to the society. And forget Hindu-Muslim for a moment. Take the example of Rajasthan. Rajasthan today has as per the NCRB data in the last 1 year, has the highest number of crimes against women. But the ex-Congress president never utters a word, in a way allowing the problem to only grow beyond control. This is the kind of damage which is done to the society by the selectivism in condemning incidents.
All right, I'm going to leave it at that because it's rare that we actually try and look for solutions. But selectivity in any sphere of life reeks of hypocrisy, and what is worse, it breeds the sense of majority victimhood, and that in any country where the majority community feels that they are being unhurt, that they are being victimized, that they are being targeted, can only lead to unrest. Let's hope that at least in some issues we can reach a consensus. Thanks very much, all gentlemen, for having joined me on the Newshour Agenda. Thanks for watching.